You know that feeling, right? You get a new idea, and there's this incredible rush of excitement. You're completely obsessed, you can already see the finished product in your mind, and then poof, a week or two later, the magic is just gone. If that sounds like you, you're definitely not alone. So let's get into the brain science behind why this happens, and more importantly, what we can actually do to fix it.
Yeah, does that hit a little too close to home? You look over at your desk or in your files, and there's just this graveyard of half-finished projects, right? That online course you bought, the book you started writing, they're all just staring at you. But what if I told you the reason for this has nothing to do with you being lazy or unmotivated?
That's right. And this is the most important thing to get. You can stop beating yourself up about it. This is not about a lack of willpower. It's not some kind of moral failing. That whole cycle of starting with a bang and then just fizzling out, it's not your fault.
The real culprit here is a tiny little chemical in your brain, dopamine. You've probably heard of it. It's the molecule of motivation, of reward, and it has been sabotaging your best intentions without you even knowing it. But today, we're going to learn its playbook.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Why does starting a new project feel so unbelievably good? Well, it turns out our brains are, quite literally, wired to get a high from newness. It makes us addicts for the starting line.
There's a name for this, novelty-seeking behavior. The moment you brainstorm that brilliant new idea, your brain just floods itself with dopamine. But here's the catch. It's not rewarding you for the work. It's rewarding you for the potential, for the exciting fantasy of this amazing new adventure.
And this right here is the whole game. The starting phase, it's a dopamine party. You're high on the fantasy of how awesome it's going to be. But then comes the middle. You know, the actual work. It gets a little boring, you hit a few snags, and your dopamine levels just tank. They crash, leaving you feeling bored and already looking for your next exciting fix.
So it turns out there are 6 key dopamine traps, let's call them saboteurs, that are constantly trying to derail our projects. Let's actually name them so we can learn how to fight back.
First up is the novelty trap. Think about it from an evolutionary standpoint. It made a ton of sense for our ancestors to explore for new food or safer shelters. But in our modern world, that exact same drive has us endlessly scrolling for the next new post instead of just focusing on the hard work that's right in front of us.
Next is something called dopamine front-loading. This is where you get all the chemical rewards right up front. You know, like when you decide to start a new hobby and you go out and buy all the fancy gear. That feels amazing. But then you have to trade that perfect fantasy for the messy reality of actually doing the work, and your brain feels cheated. It wants out.
Now this one might sound a little weird, but it is so common. Completion anxiety. See, as long as your project is unfinished, it can be perfect in your imagination. The second it's done, it's out in the world. It can be judged. And to protect you from that potential criticism, your brain comes up with a simple solution. Just never finish it.
This one is absolutely crucial. If the only reward you're chasing is that big, glorious finale that's months away, you're never going to make it. We live in a world of instant gratification, likes, notifications, which trains our brain to want rewards now. So we have to retrain it to get little dopamine hits from the day-to-day grind itself.
Ah, yes, shiny object syndrome. We all know this one, don't we? You're stuck in that boring, low dopamine middle of your current project, and then bam, a brand new idea pops into your head. It's full of novelty, full of potential. Of course your brain is going to scream at you to jump ship and chase that new, easy dopamine hit. It feels like the most brilliant idea you've ever had in your life. And finally, we've got perfectionism paralysis. When you're striving for some impossible standard of perfect, every single step feels impossibly heavy. It's a dopamine killer. It just drains your motivation until the project feels more like a chore than a passion. And so, you quit.
Okay, so that was the problem. A little doom and gloom. But now for the good part, the solution. We're going to dive into an actionable toolkit to help you rewire your brain so you can actually get things done. This is your most powerful weapon, right here. It's called the micro-wins protocol. You have to learn how to artificially create rewards for your brain. So don't aim for finish the chapter, that's way too big. Aim for write one paragraph, or even write one sentence. Every single time you check off a tiny task, you give your brain a small, satisfying hit of dopamine. You string those hits together and you build momentum.
You need to tattoo this mantra on your brain. Done is better than perfect. A finished project that's maybe 70% of what you dreamed is infinitely more valuable than a perfect idea that just lives on your computer forever. Just get it done, ship it, move on to the next thing.
And that's why visual trackers are so powerful. Your brain needs to see that it's winning. A simple progress bar, a checklist, a calendar where you put a big X for every day you work. These things give you tangible proof of your effort. And seeing that proof triggers a dopamine release, just like leveling up in a video game.
Here are a few more quick hitters. Try the dopamine bridge. Pair a boring task with something you love, like listening to your favorite album. Use an anti-novelty commitment. When you get a new idea, write it down, but promise yourself you won't touch it until your current project is done. Reframe the middle. It's not a dead zone, it's where you're building mastery. And my personal favorite, on days you have zero motivation, just commit to 10 minutes. Anyone can do 10 minutes.
But look, it's really important to remember, none of these hacks or tricks will work if your brain chemistry is out of whack. Energy management is so much more important than time management. Getting enough sleep, moving your body, getting some sunlight in the morning, these aren't optional luxuries. They're the non-negotiable foundation for having the dopamine you need to do anything at all.
All right, this brings us to the most important part of all. This isn't just about finishing one little project. It's about fundamentally changing who you believe you are.
Every single time you see a project through to the end, no matter how small it is, you are sending a powerful signal to your brain. You're building evidence. You are literally forging the identity of a finisher, and that self-belief makes the next project that much easier.
So here is your challenge. Right now, I want you to pick just one of those unfinished projects. Not the biggest one, not the hardest one, just pick one.
And now, give yourself a deadline. 2 weeks. That's it. Apply just one of the tools we talked about today. Break it down into micro wins, track your progress, whatever works. Just get that one thing finished.
Because here's the absolute truth. You're not broken. You don't have a discipline problem. Your brain's motivation system just needs a better user manual. And now, you have it. So the only question left is, are you ready to become a finisher?